So hello everyone, my name is Jolyn Hall. I'm a real estate agent with Schmidt Realty Group. And today we're talking about selling when you have something to buy or buying when you have something to sell. It's really about managing two transactions. And so you're in the right place if you're trying to figure out how do you do this, because this is a very different real estate transaction from when you were renting and you're purchasing your first home, or you're renting and you purchase something for the first time. It's a relatively easy transaction. But when we're dealing with two transactions all at once, it can get a bit overwhelming and a little bit tricky. So for those that haven't had a chance to meet me before, I was a previous registered nurse and home care case manager. I've worked in seniors housing in the management teams for nonprofit and for-profit. I am a licensed real estate agent with Schmidt Realty Group here in Edmonton and serve Greater Edmonton area. I'm a seniors real estate specialist, meaning I do specialize in working with 55 plus buyers and sellers. And I do help with all housing options through my company, Edmonton 55, for those that need to either age in place or look at retirement living options and things like that. So today, let's get started. So when you're looking at a sell buy, that's sort of our real estate jargon for there's two transactions that are about to happen. We're going to kind of go through the different scenarios of what do you do first before you even make your decision, and then what it looks like if you wanted to sell first, what it looks like if you wanted to purchase first, and how to decide really which is going to be the best option for your scenario. There is no right or wrong in any of this. I've had clients that we started that we were going to sell first, but then we found the place that they fell in love with for their purchase, and we switched it around halfway through. So that's completely possible. You're not stuck to any of this. Today is really just about information and making sure you understand all the options and some of the risks with each of those options. So let's get started. So when you have to sell a home first to buy, as I mentioned, this is the most complex transaction because there's really a lot of moving pieces in the air, and you need somebody that's going to meld all the pieces together in a coherent, safe way so that your investment and your sanity is protected. So do you sell first and then find something to buy that fits your criteria, possibly in a short timeline? Or do you buy first and then have your home put on the market? So these are really the two main scenarios we deal with. So first things first, everyone that connects with me wanting to do a buy sell, I do ask them to explore their financial options, because you may or may not need a down payment. You may or may not have savings or investments to manage the next purchase. You may or may not need to access a bridge loan. You may or may not need a line of credit on your current home. So there's a bit to explore there. You need to understand your timeline. Is your health changing rapidly and you need to move into something more suited to you and your health needs? Do you want to move in a particular season? Do you have a financial goal? I've recently worked with a buy-sell couple that knew that they're retiring in a year and wanted to do this while they had the strong income. So they had that timeline. And you also have to do a lot of self-reflection about what is your ability to manage stress and cope with difficult situations, because this might get a little hairy. This can grate on the nerves of the strongest people, a buy sell, because it can be really tough when you're in it, and then when it's over, it's all fantastic. But excuse me, there's often sort of 2 weeks there where things can be tense. So let's dig into this a bit more. So understand your finances. I tell everyone, speak to your bank. Ideally, speak to a mortgage broker. Especially when you're 55 plus, if you do not have a source of income, banks are very limited in what they can provide for products, and they excuse me, will provide loans. They will provide line of credit. They will occasionally provide bridge loans. There's not many banks that do provide that. But through a mortgage broker, there is a lot more products, there is a lot more flexibility, and there is a lot more understanding that pensions, government checks, things like that are still income. So you may have to check out both of your options. Bridge loan is a really tricky thing to get because you do not get an approval until you have 2 contracts in hand. So you need to have your current home with a contract for purchase by a buyer, and you have to have already accepted an offer on the new place you're going to purchase, and then you apply for a bridge loan. And the scary thing is you're now committed into 2 contracts, and then you find out if you qualify or not. So bridge loans are not my most favorite thing in the world, but they most certainly work for some people. The other option is line of credit, because oftentimes you can get a line of credit that's 60, 70, possibly 80% of the value of your current home, and you can use that to purchase your next home if you don't want a traditional mortgage or bridge loan. And then the other option is an open-ended mortgage. And people, always tell me, well, I don't want to have a mortgage again. Well, you don't. You might have a mortgage for 2 weeks. You might have a mortgage for 2 months while this transaction happens, and then it's paid off from the proceeds of sale. And when our interest rates these days are 1.85, is what I'm seeing many of my buyers get, that can often be really beneficial. And a lot of times with a mortgage, you may need a much lower down payment, especially if you're going through a mortgage broker. So for those that don't have a lot of fluid cash to do a down payment, then that short-term mortgage can actually work in your favor, especially if it's open-ended with limited penalties. It may, because of our interest rates, may cost you significantly less than a bridge loan these days. So it's important to have these conversations early on to understand through your banker, your mortgage broker, your financial planner, what's going to be the best option for you. So when we talk about timeline, could you make a move in a 2 to 4 week window? Could you carry the cost of 2 homes, and for how long? Because these are the pieces of the puzzle that really play into what does your timeline look like. If you sell your home first, you need to line up your next purchase so that there's a ideally 1 or 2 week window to move, possibly 4 weeks. And so things are going to happen really quickly because you never know when you're going to get that offer on your current home. Then you've usually got 1 or 2 weeks to find your next home. And then you prepare for your possession date. That's really going to only give you a couple of weeks of having the 2 residences to get that move complete. The other scenario where you buy first and get settled into that residence, you might be carrying the cost of your home if it's not selling for a little bit of time. And there's some keys to make sure that doesn't happen. But if you don't have the cash funds to handle insurance and utilities and the things you need to keep in place, possibly lawn service and snow service at that first residence, then sometimes that can be a challenge. So get a sense as to what your personal timeline looks like, and then what would your timeline feel like to either do a quick move or carry 2 homes. And then really what it mostly comes down to for my clients is their ability to cope and manage stress. Because this is a difficult transaction. So the question I always ask is, what will keep you up at night? having to do two moves if you sold your home, but you couldn't find the right place to move into, and you maybe had to move in with family, maybe had to rent an apartment for 6 months, maybe had to stay in a hotel for a week. Is having to do two moves just incomprehensible to you and you want to do one? Or is carrying the cost of two homes for possibly a couple months really stressful for you, knowing that financially that's going to be hard to do? Which one will keep you up at night? So if having the two moves is really, really scary to you, possibly if you couldn't find the right residence in the time you had, then maybe you should buy your new home first, and then sell your other home. If the thought of carrying two homes and having that uncertainty as to how long it's going to take for that first home to sell when you're already settled in a condo or other home is terrifying to you, then maybe you should sell your home first and have that certainty and then plan your purchase. So only you can answer this question, but this is the clincher that usually makes the decision for people. So let's look if you were doing a sale of your home first. What does that look like? So we're still researching the purchase first. We're making sure we know what your financial situation is. What do you have to get out of this home? What can you access for line of credit? What do you need to meet credit history wise? And we do what we call a test the market, where we go out to see what you want to buy. So if you're looking at condos, if you're looking at bungalows in a bungalow village, we go out there to make sure that for the dollar amount you can spend, you could find some options you'd be okay with. We're not finding the option because chances are those options won't be there when you do sell your home. But we just want to make sure that for the price range, what you're looking for, you can actually get. Then we prepare your home for sale, we list your home, and we wait. And once you get an accepted offer on your home, that's when we go into hyperdrive really quickly to find your next home. Ideally in that week, or possibly within the next 2 weeks, we want to have an offer on your next place. And sometimes we can line up possession dates really, really nicely. So if you are selling first, the trick is your home has to be listed for a fair market price. If you're going to put your home for sale at a sky high, let's just see if somebody's ridiculous enough to pay this rate, you're going to be disappointed because you're going to see options that you could buy just pass you by that you can't get because your house still isn't sold, and it can get very depressing. So you want to make sure your house is listed for a fair market price. Now, you may want to choose a longer possession date. What looks most attractive to buyers is a immediate or 30-day possession. You may want a 60, possibly carefully a 90-day possession day to buy yourself some time to find the next option. And there's actually a really great trick I do for my clients in that when we purchase something, I have a nice little clause I use to protect you that if you found something sooner and wanted to move sooner, that might be able to happen. But you also need to have a plan B that if you did sell your house, but you didn't find the right place to buy, would you stay with family? Would you rent an apartment for a couple months? What would that short-term solution be? Because you must have a plan B. Because as much as I or any other agent will work super hard to find you something to purchase, I'm going to be the first one to tell you if you're settling or if what you're looking for isn't there, I'm not going to force you to buy something just because you're in a panic situation. I want you to wait until you can buy something that you are going to love and be happy living in for a while. And if it's not happens to be on the market at that time, that's just kind of the luck of the draw. There is, none of us have that crystal ball. So if you want to sell first, list your home for a fair market price, choose your possession dates carefully to give you a bit of buffer room, and have a plan B. If you are going to do a purchase first and move in and then sell your house, again, we still want to explore your finances. We do want to get right to doing the search for the next place. And we want to get you moved in. So in that case, we may want a really short possession time so that we can start the move soon. And you can start decluttering, downsizing your house, because now you've got the things you need in that house. And it's a little bit easier to work with your original home and get it ready for sale, either have less furniture or get some cleaning done because now there's space. So you want to get that house, you want the move to happen, and you want that house to get on the market as quickly as possible, and then continue downsizing that original house. So a lot of people do this part backwards, in that they find a place to move, they move, excuse me, they take a couple of months to get their house ready for sale, and then the market has shifted. And now what we thought could have been a quick sale in their neighborhood, now that neighborhood's taking a long time to sell. And that's really tough when you switch time frames. So when you're looking at doing a purchase first, we want things to happen quick, boom, 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 boom. So what I usually suggest is buy your house, move into it, do the initial cleaning to get photos done, but get your house on the market really quickly. And if you still have to clean out basements and garages, then do that while your home is listed. So the biggest thing is you want that home, original home, to go on the market in the same bubble of month or two that you've made your purchase in. So it's really about timing. So if you're buying first, again, you can choose a longer possession date for your purchase so that you have time to get your home on the market and can possibly get those very close in time. It's really reassuring when you've got a place bought, but you don't have to move in yet, and your house sells in that time frame. So I've done that many times, but we need to evaluate the market carefully to know if that's a safe assumption to make. And also, before you make a move, if any of your purchase involves having a line of credit, or even if you don't need a line of credit, I tell people get a line of credit on your house, because if your house doesn't sell for a number of months, at least that line of credit you can use for your insurance, your utility fees, your lawn service, your snow service, and you're not in a financial crunch. Because the last thing I want is you to sell your original house out of desperation because you cannot afford to keep carrying two residences. I don't want you having a fire sale. I want you to sell at a fair market value for you, as long as it's marketed fairly and not sort of a sky high pipe dream. But you may want to take out a line of credit beforehand just to give yourself a safety buffer net. So how do you decide whether you sell or you buy first? Look at your energy levels. Do you need things to happen slowly and bit by bit? Or can you handle a couple intense weeks? Look at your stress levels and how you manage stress. Are you best to rip off the Band-Aid and get this done in a short amount of time? Or are you best to sort of drag this out over a little bit of time and do bits and pieces? And what do you have for support for family and friends? But also professionals. There's senior move managers. They'll get you packed and moved in 3 days. They're kind of amazing. You know, a house with 50 years of stuff, and they can do all of these things. So what professionals and service providers can you rely on that's going to help maintain your sanity and keep you moving forward at a pace that works for you. So in making this decision, I always say, know your current home value first. You can't make any decisions or do any planning about the next purchase until you know that, especially if you need the funds for that original home to fund what you're purchasing. Look online, realtor.ca, get a real estate agent to set up a search for you, but start researching what's out there. Look at the photos. It can give you a good idea of what can you get for 200,000 in a condo? What can you get for 400,000 in a bungalow village? What does that realistically look like? So do your research. Get a real estate agent on your side early. I work with a lot of my clients a year or 2 years before they're going to do any of this, because we can put in the research to watch their neighborhood, see what's happening, figure out the options they want to purchase, get those searches set up so that they can watch the neighborhoods, see what's going down in value, see what's going up in value, decide, what they like and dislike. But having somebody to help coach you through all of that is such a valuable piece of this. As a buyer, you're not paying service fees. So you're only paying service fees generally on your sell. So getting somebody on your side early on can be such an advantage. And then make your decision. It's not an agent's decision. It's not my decision. It's not your family's decision. It's your decision. Do you buy first or do you sell first? What do you feel most comfortable with? So for anyone that's interested, I'm happy to set up a complimentary email search for researching your purchase options or watching your neighborhood, or both. And so in that email search, you can get notified every day or once a week as to homes and condos that match the criteria you're looking for, so you can start doing research and you can decide your areas of the city, how many bedrooms, what size, what features. I also do free home evaluations to help you understand the current market value of your current home. So I'm happy to do those at any time. Again, even if it's a couple of years from you selling, it's important information to have. I do have a number of fantastic resources on my website. I have a right sizing guide you can either download or I can mail. I have a condo buying guide you can download or I can mail. I host a couple monthly seminars, host a couple online seminars every month. And there's past videos and worksheets available. So on my website at jolynsellsedmonton.com, if you go into the resources section, you're going to find a lot of great resources there to help you do some research and make some decisions. I also do a monthly newsletter that goes out on the 15th of each month, specific to real estate in Edmonton and area. And there's always a really fun draw for a $200 gift card, usually to a very local business. So it's really easy to enter to win that gift card each month. And to get on my newsletter list is just letting me know that you'd like me to add your email. And I'll leave my contact information here for a moment. If you have questions, if you have concerns, if you have thoughts, if you need some assistance researching some options, I'm happy to help walk you through all of that. Feel free to call, text, email, whatever works best for you. So thank you for joining me today. And I hope this has made things a little bit easier for you to decide whether you want to buy or sell. Excuse me.